Welcome, everybody, to the Relentless podcast, where I find guests who are willing to commit to some type of 40-day health challenge. Now, it could be anything. It could be nutrition-related, exercise, cold plunge, hot sauna, or it could be giving up a vice like cigarettes or social media or naughty websites. Here's what happens. So the guest comes on before the challenge to talk about what to expect, and then they come back on after the challenge to talk about their experience, and we can learn from them. So if you're new here, throw us on in the background, hang out, and maybe, just maybe, I can earn my way into your regular podcast rotation. If you could have lunch with these people, it's going to be like an either or.
Okay.
You throw out like your answer, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I got you.
Dr. Dre or Kanye West?
Dr. Dre.
Jay-Z or Nas?
I'm going to go with Nas.
Cool.
Yeah.
Diddy or Epstein?
You had neither?
You have to, and assume that Epstein is alive.
Jeez. Let's go with Diddy, I guess.
Okay. He would have more just kind of...
It's going to be a bad clip.
Did everybody hear that? Russ, top notch, insists on having lunch with Diddy because he's his biggest fan. Just kidding. I'll cut that out. Here's a good one. Queen, the band, or Nirvana, the band?
Queen.
Yeah. Kid Rock or Ted Nugent?
Oh, Kid Rock.
Kid Rock, yeah. Detroit ties.
Yeah. Well, same thing with Ted Nugent, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Is Ted Nugent from Michigan?
I believe so, yeah.
I think he might be too.
Yeah.
So that one, I don't really talk politics on here, but I wanted to save the Kid Rock or Ted Nugent one for one of my friends that are very far like left leaning, because just to watch them like squirm. But I've developed this rule on this podcast where I don't like to talk about anything that I couldn't talk about while maintaining a smile on my face.
Okay. Yeah.
And I thought about that, and because I feel like a lot of times with like, the big hot button topics, politics probably being at the top of it, I feel like people, and myself, I'm guilty of it too, but I feel like once you make sort of some of your opinions as part of like your own identity, then it becomes hard to like smile through stuff. Like if you disagree with somebody.
Right.
And I like keeping rapport, and I don't like, anyways. So want to dive right into your challenge?
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Well, I'd like to ask you some questions, but for the viewer just tuning in, they might not know who you are.
Yeah.
Damn it. Do you know who he is? He is the greatest music producer to ever come out of Dearborn, Michigan, Russ Lovelace.
Yes.
Top notch.
Yep.
Do you still go by top notch?
I go by Top.
Top.
Yep.
T-O-P or T-O-P-P?
PP. Yeah.
PP.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And I cannot wait to dive into music with you. But the purpose of the podcast is the 40-day challenges. So you have decided to do a 40-day challenge.
Yep.
Which one did you pick?
I'm going to run a mile a day for 40 days.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
So, well, go ahead.
I was going to say, what made you want to do the mile?
Yeah. So, I mean, I work out. I lift weights like almost every day, but I don't ever do cardio. And like when I try to play basketball and stuff, I'm just like so out of breath. Like I don't have the stamina to like run up and down the court and do that kind of stuff. So I'm like, all right, like once in a great while, I'll try cardio at the gym, but usually just do the bike. And for me, it's like I could be on the bike for like an hour and it's like nothing compared to trying to run even like a half mile. I'm like, oh my God, this is like so difficult for me. So I want to do it because it's difficult and just to get in, better cardio shape, basically.
Yeah, for sure. So right now your cardio consists of the bike mostly?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I do any. Like usually when I go to the gym, I just lift weights, but if I do cardio, it's just the bike. And like I said, the bike, for me, it seems kind of easy. Mm-hmm. And like I avoid running because it's hard. So now it's my opportunity to like do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your running will consist of mostly at the gym on the treadmill?
Yeah.
Okay.
I may run outside if it's like a nice day or something, maybe in like a couple weeks if it gets above 20 degrees.
Yeah. Well, we're in March. We're in February, March right now by the time this comes out. and while we're recording this. But yes, running when it's snow on the ground in Michigan and sub 20-degree temperatures, that doesn't sound like a
No.
ideal scenario. So you don't really run currently. Now, throughout the 40 days, I like to get some sort of like metric or like some sort of like measurable differences between day 1 and day 40.
Right.
Is it possible for you to like log some times, like towards the beginning,
Yeah.
maybe towards the middle, towards the end? So when you come back here, we can be like, oh, this, obviously your endurance went up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Maybe the first couple times I'm not going to be running full speed or anything, it's probably going to be bad, but yeah, I'll get through it.
Yeah, totally. So do you usually go to the gym around the same time every day?
Yeah. I usually go in the morning, get up, take pre-workout, go to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big pre-workout guy too.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like pre-workout's kind of a cheat code because anyone can get up and chug a drink.
Right.
And it's like once you get it in your system, you kind of have to
Yeah,
work
you have
out,
to do something. Yeah.
or else you're going to be a jittery mess for the
Right.
rest of the day. Yeah. So when you run, are you planning on just kind of raw dogging it, or are you going to have the headphones in?
Oh, yeah, headphones.
Yeah.
For sure. I got to listen to something.
You listen to music,
Yeah.
podcasts?
Both. Yeah.
The Relentless podcast.
Of course.
Yeah. Do you ever listen to your own stuff while running? Or,
No.
while exercising, I should say?
No, I don't ever listen to my own stuff.
No?
If someone else wants to listen to my stuff, like my wife loves listening to I'm like, all right, whatever, we'll listen to it. I don't really want to, but yeah.
Yeah. I got to say, well, first of all, I was going to go in two different directions there. First of all, I don't believe I've seen you in person since you've gotten married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And on the music thing, again, we'll dive more into it later, but I want to say I'm such a fan of yours. All of your channels, I want to link in the description of this video so that anyone that might be interested can go check out your stuff. Because there's a lot of good stuff. I know from firsthand on your YouTube, but checking out some of your albums. And I had a buddy in here last week, 2 weeks ago, Neil, who I had this idea. Neil has a music podcast himself where him and his buddy E-Man, it's called Beats, Brews, and Points of View. And for a long, long time, they were interviewing a lot of independent artists out of Michigan.
Nice.
I want to see if I can make these two worlds overlap and either have them have you on their podcast, or they can pluck some of the artists they've worked with and maybe a molding of the minds. We can get some music.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, out of both sides. You would like Neil. Neil is a total encyclopedia when it comes to music.
Nice.
Yeah, he knows his stuff. He's had his ear to the scene since, I met him when I was probably 14 or 15 years old, but he's just, he's always at shows, always checking out the new albums. He's like, anytime someone of note drops an album, he's like the first person I text. I'm like,
Nice.
What'd you think about, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's always telling me about music, but
That's sweet. Yeah.
yeah. So one more question I had on the running. If you get sick or if something comes up where you absolutely can't do the mile, are you going to say, okay, no mile this day, or are you going to double up the next day?
Ooh. If I have a cold, I'm pushing through it for sure. If something comes up where I cannot, I will double it the next day.
Yeah.
For sure.
You heard it here, everybody. He's doubling it.
That might be a bad time that day if I'm recording time, but yeah, I'll double it that day.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to be into running and then I kind of fell off. I try to elliptical when I can. I usually do one big long run once a year for whatever reason. But yeah, running's something I haven't had in my repertoire for a while.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. At the gym, I do like doing the elliptical, like you said, but man, it doesn't give me the same. It's not as hard as running. It's just not, I feel like running is the ultimate difficult thing for me, at least,
Yeah. And there's definitely, we talked about it on this podcast before, there is something to doing stuff you do not want to do.
Yeah.
Huberman discovered a part of the brain, he's a neuroscientist out of Stanford. Do you know Andrew Huberman? He's a doctor. He's got that podcast.
Yeah, I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about this study they did where there's a part of the brain called the mid-cingulate prefrontal cortex or something like this. It's part of the brain that actually grows in size in a person when they force themselves to do something they don't want to do. So it helps in other areas where like you need to like flex that discipline muscle.
Yeah.
Forcing yourself to do things like running that you don't like doing.
Right.
I would imagine, and feel free to jot it down throughout your journey, like I would imagine it might show up in other areas, perhaps unexpected areas of your life. That'd be
I
cool.
expect mentally to feel a little more focused and stuff. You know, like you said, just doing something that's hard that you don't want to do definitely changes like your mindset. Should give you more motivation once you do it. You know, like, all right, I did this. Now I can do other stuff throughout my day that I normally wouldn't do, or that's challenging. It's like, all right, this isn't so bad because now I've done the hardest thing for me already, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. A couple of fun facts about running that I dug up before we sat down here. The oldest person to ever finish a marathon.
Oh, man.
What do you guess?
Like 84?
100.
Whoa.
Yeah, 100.
No way.
I didn't jot down her name or commit it to memory, but I'm pretty sure it was a female, and it was one of those countries that aren't ours.
Okay.
And then here's just a fun fact. Are you familiar with Roger Bannister? Have you heard this story?
No.
So it's a story that guys like Tony Robbins will often tell when needing to like make an impact. And it is a pretty impactful story. And it was in I believe it was in the 50s. I want to say 54. Nobody had ever run a 4-minute mile. Scientists, doctors, everyone agreed, can't do it in 4 minutes. Impossible. Well, along comes this fella by the name of Roger Bannister, and he did it. Sub 4-minute mile. And then within like 4 years, 70 other people ran a 4-minute mile.
Oh.
So it's one of those, and today I think it's in like, it's like 11 or 1200 as of 2025. So it's one of those things where like, if you tell somebody something's impossible for long enough, people are like, okay, I guess it's impossible. But then sometimes all you need is one example of like somebody that does it.
Yeah.
And then you either learn from that person or you totally shift your mindset. And it's like, oh, it is possible.
Yeah, it can be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I thought that was a really cool story. And the origin of the marathon I thought was interesting. Basically, anyone that runs a marathon is like flexing on the original guy that did it. Because apparently it was some fella, don't remember his name, sorry guy, but he ran 25 miles from Marathon to Athens, Greece. This was in like BC times, so long ago.
Yeah.
He had to deliver a message. So he ran 25 miles, delivered the message, and then died. Yeah. So everyone was just like, we'll call it a marathon.
Okay.
And whatever. So, and then along the way, it got bumped up to 26.2 miles. But pretty much, if you think about it, pretty much everyone that runs a marathon without dying is just being like, yo, what's up, dude? From 500 BC,
right.
I ran a marathon without dying. So that's funny. Before you came here, we talked a little bit about pet peeves.
Yeah.
And just things in life that get under our skin, things in life that we hate, or just things this just rubs us the wrong way, you know?
Yeah.
Did you bring any pet peeves with you?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
I love talking pet peeves. It's so fun. Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you asked me about this, I thought of like a bunch of different things. A lot of things bother me.
Hell yeah.
Since we were talking about working out, the gym, man. Gym etiquette. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dude, these guys at the gym break the sauna constantly. They'll go in there and pour tons of water on, the charcoal sauna.
Mm-hmm.
It's not supposed to have it. They'll put signs up. Guys still pouring mint on there. Like your eyes are burning as soon as you walk into the locker room. Like, can you guys not I don't know. That just, same thing at the gym. People come stand right next to you at the urinal. Anywhere, actually, when that happens. I'm like, there's like 5 urinals open. Go stand somewhere. You don't have to stand next to me. Like, give me some space.
Yeah.
Crowding.
Yeah. I had that experience with the sauna at Emily's gym. They, same thing. People were coming in and pouring like essential oils on there. Even though there was a big sign that says, don't pour anything on charcoal. So yeah, they were constantly shutting it down. And I'm not gonna. So it was usually a certain type of person to put on the charcoal, and whatever you're imagining in your mind, you are right. I didn't say it. I was, whatever that, whatever. So, okay. So the people, sauna etiquette, gym etiquette,
Yeah.
people pissing. I can't stand the pissing,
Yeah.
peeing next to me.
I know. It's like, why?
Yeah. I'm an anxious mess all the time. I got shy bladder. So if someone comes up to me and I haven't started my stream like right away, I'll panic and I'll walk away and I'll go and like, dude, I'm such a bitch when it comes to bathrooms. I swear to God, I'm such a pussy. Like, I've done it at work where like I'll go in and I'll be like waiting to piss, and I'll hear that door open. I'll be like, fuck, and I'll start to just panic. And then when I panic, I tense up, and then like someone will be like, hey, what's up? And don't talk to me while we're peeing.
Right.
Either, don't talk to me. So I can totally relate to both of those.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Man, slow drivers. And like, people don't need to drive like maniacs. Like, you don't have to drive super fast, like crazy, but don't be doing like 20 under the speed limit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I try really hard to be compassionate.
Yeah.
We've talked about traffic on here, and traffic comes up a lot when we talk pet peeves. Try to be compassionate, especially if I get the sense that maybe they're elderly.
Right.
Then maybe they're dealing with a mentality that's like they're not in a rush. But then you get the people that are like clueless. Maybe they're in an unfamiliar area.
Yeah.
And they're like looking out, but then they forget to operate
Right.
the vehicle. That
Yeah.
shit pisses me off. Yeah. Driving.
Yeah. Part of it is just I get impatient. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm just like, come on, like, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Being stuck in traffic, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of patience, one of mine is trains, which I don't think are as prevalent in a lot of other cities. But growing up in Plymouth, Michigan, there's like a train that wraps around the whole town, and there's often no way to go to avoid a train. There's like one route I've found that like if I want to go out of my way a little bit, I'll go under the train at Hines, and then under the train again at like Ann Arbor Road. But it just seems to me like such an archaic thing. Like, you mean we're in 2025,
Right.
and I have this trolley on wheels disturbing my day. Like,
Right.
we have, AI that can answer any question. And then I have this like cart, this just cart trucking along, running on charcoal
Right.
from like the 1930s. And it's going to make me 15 minutes late for something when I've done everything in my control to not be late.
Yeah.
There's one of my pet peeves.
Yeah.
Being late.
Yeah. That too.
Yeah, I can't. I get so anxious when it's like, I know I'm going to get somewhere late.
Right.
I just don't like it. I don't like the attention. I don't like the pressure. I
Yeah.
don't
The
like
pressure. Yeah. Yep.
A lot of pressure. So one that I have, a pet peeve, I actually have the pet peeve and the solution all wrapped into one.
Nice.
So listen up, folks. This is science, and it's going to help you. My biggest pet peeve, probably in the world, the hiccups. I hate not only having the hiccups, worst, I hate being around somebody who has the hiccups, because it's like the snoring thing where you're just like waiting for it to happen, and it just consumes me with rage. So I want to share with everybody the solution to the hiccups. There's a lot of false information out there, and I'm going to give you the answer right here. So if you have the hiccups, do this. Glass of water. I'm not going to do it, but I'm just going to explain it. You take a big gulp of the water, but you keep it in your mouth. And you plug, it looks silly, you plug your ears and your nose at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And then swallow 3 times. Set the water aside and wait. If you hiccup again, do it again. Do the same mouthful of water, plug your ears, plug your nose, and then repeat it until they're gone. I haven't had to do more than like 2 or 3 rounds of this.
Oh, nice.
Been doing it for like 20 years. Works every time. Shout out Dan Porter, who told me that hack.
Nice.
It works every time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the hiccups, and solving the hiccups.
Yeah. I hate getting hiccups too, man.
I know.
Yeah. I get them randomly when I eat sometimes.
Yeah.
And as soon as I take even a sip of water, they're gone like instantly. It's only when I eat though. If I eat certain things, I don't know, maybe I have some kind of allergy, but I'll randomly get like the hiccups, and then as soon as I take a sip of water, they're like gone. It's really weird.
Interesting.
But I can get hiccups like a different time, just random, and usually water won't get rid of it like immediately. I mean, it'll go away, but yeah.
Is it spicy food?
No, it's usually like I want to say like starchy foods, like fries or like something like that, like potato type of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I just noticed that sometimes when I eat that stuff, I'll get the hiccups like immediately, and then as soon as I drink water, they're like gone. I'm like, all right, well, like whatever.
That's
but
so
it's so weird. Yeah,
that's so strange. Fuck the hiccups. Fuck everything they represent. I got another peeve, and it is watching old people try to type. Because two things: A, they can't spell, and B, they can't type.
yeah,
And they will always blame their inability to spell on their inability to type. And I've worked with a number of people, sub 55, sub 60, and they'll struggle with typing, and then they'll be like, I just it's technology, and they'll always like make excuses that they'll have like their screen projected up, and they'll be like trying to compose an email, and I'll just be like, oh my God, like the grammar in you people, like say what you will about us millennials being lazy and entitled, but at least we can work a fucking keyboard,
right?
And spell. I don't know what happened to spelling in the 1970s, but y'all lost it. Another pet peeve. Here we go. So I've been lightly applying to jobs around here. I love my current job. I just need something that's a direct hire position. Anyways, so job interview questions. When was the last time you were on a job interview? Let me ask you that.
Man, it's been a while.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's been
And
a
we'll
long
get
time.
into the digging graves.
Right.
Yeah, I'd love that. So job interview questions. So they'll always be like, tell me about a time when blah, 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 blah. And usually it's like tell me about a time when you got really frustrated and maybe your supervisor wasn't listening in what you did. And you always got to like be like, oh, well, this time, and you got to come up with a time from your past that applies to the question, whatever. They're trying to figure out whatever. So anyways, so I'm on this phone interview yesterday, and I swear to God, this was the question they asked me. She goes, say we took a random poll of 20 of your former coworkers, what do you think they would say about you that would be a misconception? And immediately I was just like,
like what?
I was like, first of all, if this wasn't a job, if this wasn't an interview and you were just like a friend of mine, I'd be like, that's dumb. And so I can't, but you can't say that because it's a job interview.
Right.
You got to just be like, great question, and act all positive and answer it like it's not the dumbest question you've ever heard.
Right.
But I'm in my head, I'm like, you're asking me to explain to you what I think 20 random people from my past would say about me that would be incorrect.
Right.
Like, that's so weird. Like, first of all, these people, they're not thinking about me.
Right.
Like, nobody's thinking about me. And second of all, like, how would I know what they're thinking? If you would have stopped and been like, what would 20 random people think about you? I'd be like, oh, easy.
Yeah.
But what do you mean 20 people thinking about you that they're incorrect about?
Right. Yeah. How are you supposed to know what someone else has wrong about you?
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. I am not going to sit there and examine the minds of 20 different, and like, which 20 people?
Yeah.
Like, did I ever have a conversation with these people, or are they like just passing through in the hallway? And I just, and I think I ended up being like, what did I answer? I think I said like, they may have gotten the impression that I am introverted and a little standoffish because a lot of times when we were busy, I would just like put my head down and bust out the work. And I think that was like a fine answer. She seemed to like it, but what a
what a weird.
it's a weird question.
It's so weird.
People are so weird. I feel like the interview questions have just gotten out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally out of control. All right. I want to talk about you.
Okay.
I didn't come here to complain about interview questions. I came here to talk about the challenge, talk about silly stuff, but highlight you as a producer. When did you start making music?
It started when I was probably in like 2nd or 3rd grade. I started taking piano lessons.
Really?
That's how like I got into it. Throughout grade school, I took piano, got into high school. So I kept doing it until 8th grade. Then once I got to high school, I played trombone freshman year, just to try like something. I was like, I'll play like a horn or something. It'd be cool. After that, in school, I didn't really do any more music. I mean, I knew how to read music from playing piano for so long, doing trombone. I did get a drum set one time when I was a kid because I wanted to try that. I never took any lessons. I just like messing around on it, Then later in high school, I bought myself turntables because I wanted to do scratching, and like I got into like writing like poems and rap and stuff. So I was like, let me get myself some turntables and really like get this going. I kind of didn't have any idea what I was doing. Like I was trying all these different things like drums, turntables. I didn't really know like there was like this producer world out there at that point when I was like younger. Mm-hmm. Once I got later in high school, kept writing music. I wanted to be like a rapper. So then I was like, well, how do I get beats? How do I find someone to make beats for me or buy them off of them or whatever so I can rap on like my original beats? So I looked around. I've bought beats off different people. This is like way back in the day, like SoundClick. I don't know if you remember that website, but there would be people selling beats on that. This was like early 2000s. Like, so I was like, man, trying to buy exclusive beats from people is expensive. Like, I don't know. Like, I was like, I can probably do this myself. I played piano for so long. Mm-hmm. I liked it. I was already like playing around with drums, turntables, all kinds of stuff. So I was like, let me try this myself. So I don't know how I found some random program to like make beats on, just messing around, just basic stuff. I think I bought like a CD that had loops on it that you could sample, started messing around with that. And then eventually like got into like making all the stuff myself, getting different computer programs, getting equipment, all that kind of stuff to like really get going with it. Yeah.
Fruity Loops. Pro Tools.
Yep.
Do you still use Pro Tools?
Yep. I still use both those actually. Fruity Loops is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that inside and out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When I started making beats, 8th grade, it was with a software called Acid Pro. Do you remember? That's
what I used to use like way back in the day. Yeah. Yep. I used to make like mashups on there is like what I used to do like when I started using that program. Get like an acapella from something, instrumental from a different song, and try to like blend them,
Yeah. Now it's wild with AI. You can like extract just the vocals out of a song. That used to be the biggest hurdle in trying to... You'd have to try to find a part of the song or somehow find an a cappella version of the song.
Yeah.
But I would always be on the hunt of like a part of a song where they drop the beat.
Yeah.
And then if there were like lyrics, I would pull those out and try to tie them into stuff. So who are at this stage, I know, but for the listener, who are some of the artists you've worked with or gotten on your songs that might sound familiar to a listener?
So I've worked with Royce the 5'9", Joe Budden, Slaughterhouse guys.
Yeah.
Trick, Bazaar from D12, Calleja from D12.
Nice.
There's so many like other people that, I've worked with in the city. I don't know if other people would know them, but yeah, all kinds of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening right now and you are unfamiliar with Royce the 5'9" and Joe Budden, let me just try to clue you in. I've been a very avid hip hop listener since I was 13, 14, 37, going on 38. And these, like, without even knowing that you've gotten these guys in your song, they're both like in my top 5 at least top 10 artists of all time.
Yeah.
Just so when I heard when I heard that you got Royce and Budden on songs, and Budden has become like a giant public figure with his podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've gotten these guys on a song on your album, it was just mind blowing to me. And yeah, it's just so cool. So if you haven't, then, if you listen to another genre of music, think of like whoever is at the top of your list is the best artist, and these guys are right neck and neck with those kind of people. So it's awesome. And out of all the artists you've worked with, was I the worst one?
No.
Really?
No, you weren't the worst one. Dude, actually, you got some skill.
Thanks, man.
I always enjoyed having you over, rapping on stuff. It was always fun.
It was so much fun. Back in our 20s, early 20s, just getting, probably a little too intoxicated. Just going in the booth with some of those goons, Lake Point guys. We would always have
the LP.
Yeah, man. We'd always have so much fun. I was cleaning out my basement recently. Well, not really cleaning out, but just moving some stuff around. And I came across the LP mixtape.
Oh, yeah.
Which is all stuff that we did over at your place.
Yep.
A lot of it incoherent, but some of it, it's like, Bobby would catch a beat and be like,
right.
Yeah, you go for like 2 minutes. You'd be like, he's actually rapping,
Yeah.
And then the Dan's getting in the Dan battles.
Yep. Oh, man,
so
that was fun.
Yeah. And then in the times where I took it seriously, like I tell people, like, I was never really good. But if you were to pluck 4 or 5 songs out of the ones that I did, they were not bad.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but it was always a lot of fun working with you. I actually had a proposition. So when we were texting before you came, you said that in addition to the mile run, the daily mile run for your 40-day challenge, you may work on a beat every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be fun that when you come back, we'll figure out a way to like play them.
Yeah.
And then maybe we could make one of them like the intro or outro to this channel.
Oh, that would be cool.
Because as of right now, all I did was grab like royalty-free something out of nowhere. So if we could make that happen, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. And you do not just hip hop, you do like kind of all genres.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I do electronic stuff mostly now. I'm going to come out with hip hop stuff again, but under like my actual name, Russ Lovelace, I come out with electronic music too. So I kind of do a lot of different genres. And I wanted to make like, at first I wanted to just come out with stuff under one name. And then I was like, man, there's people that won't even listen to like electronic stuff. They're listening to my hip hop stuff. They're gonna be like, why is he really like, what is this? Like, so I was like, let me use my real name, come out with electronic stuff, still use my like rap stuff, keep it separate. So I also want to come out with like a dubstep album under like a different name. Cause I like making all kinds of different stuff, just whatever, whatever I'm feeling like the stuff I listen to, I want to make. So I listen to all different kinds of stuff. So yeah.
That's a good way to do it. So you have separate kind of identities, but also, and you have them separately on YouTube.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I link them both. That's, that's kind of a crossroads I came to as well when it came to this podcast, because I worked on other stuff before I started this. Me and Matt, we would do like the bracket style pop culture reviews, which became mostly just wrestling stuff. And I was like, do I start a whole new channel, work from the ground up, and hope to build with this brand new thing? Or do I capitalize on the audience we already built and just rebrand? So I actually did both for a little bit. I started a new channel with all of this stuff, but I also posted it on the current channel, 6 Wins. And it was just like, man, the brand new channel, it was just, I did it for like a month or two. It was not catching on. I'm just like, I don't know if I have the energy to do 2 at once.
Yeah.
So I kind of dropped the old one, and then I'm just all on this one now. But I get both sides, I get doing the separate things, because like for me, you said, a hip hop listener might not listen to dubstep, and vice versa. For me, it was just like a person that's interested in like health and podcasting and the stuff we do here might not be interested in wrestling and vice
Right.
versa. So I don't know if we'll get back to doing the wrestling stuff, but if it ever comes time, I'll probably just throw it all up and be like, watch what you want,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think of like the bigger podcasters and I'm like, well, they're kind of, you go to them because they have like interesting guests and they're not always talking about the same thing. Like, for example, like you listen to like a Joe Rogan and it's like, I'll usually tune in if it's like an interesting guest. So I'll tune in. I'll get through the part where he talks about COVID and trans people because it seems to be obsessed with that. And then they'll get into like the meat and potatoes and that's interesting. But then what I found is usually when they start talking, he'll talk about UFC a lot.
Yeah.
I know nothing about UFC, but I usually stick around just to hear him talking about it because I find like listening to someone talk about something they're passionate about is usually worth sticking around for. There's like an electricity to that keeps me coming back.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's easier when you're already made it like big time. Like Lady Gaga has multiple different kinds of genres she does, but she's like huge, It's like if you're like underground, I feel like it's difficult because you want to get a fan base, but at the same time, you don't want to alienate your fan base if you're releasing all kinds of stuff that they would never check out to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I get that. So Topp is the hip hop.
Yep.
Your real name is dubstep?
Just electronic.
Electronic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dance music. Yeah.
Okay.
Later on, I'm going to come out with dubstep stuff, probably under a different name too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Are you workshopping any names or is that like, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag here in the pod.
No, I don't have any. No, not yet. And with the Topp stuff, right now I don't have anything on Spotify. I used to have my album on there. I took it down. I wanted to remove a song. And then also I contacted you about this like a while ago. I still haven't redone it, but I want to upload it again with other stuff I was working on at the time that I never released. I got so many songs that I worked on, never released it. I was like, let me re-release my album on Spotify, take off what I didn't want on there, put on a bunch of other stuff I worked on. So that'll be up soon.
Yeah.
Get it back on there.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. You messaged me about the Call Me Crazy song.
Yeah. I love that song, man.
It's a good song. I would say I dog on myself a lot for, trying to rap because I don't think of myself as very good. But I will say there was one bar that I wrote that I was like, that's actually pretty fucking good. And it's on that song.
Yeah.
And the line is this. My flow is so cold, you'd think my mouth was frozen. Like I've been chewing on ice, call me Scotty Bowman. I stand behind my boys like a hockey coach, and it's about 4:20, but my watch is broken. And that was the only thing I ever like look back on and be like, stand behind my boy like a hockey, because Scotty Bowman, the former coach of the Red Wings, did chew on ice, frozen mouth is frozen. That's the only one where I was just like, I don't know what I was doing that day. I don't know if I was just like really high or on a ton of pills, but that was pretty clear. But yeah, that's a good one. Which actually, I've thought about it too. Is like, I don't know what the song is about.
That song specifically?
Yeah, I don't know. Because it's like, I think I started with like, it was about approaching a woman while being high. Mm-hmm. But then I think it just became kind of more like a stoner anthem.
Yeah,
where we just talked about. And then the third verse I recorded, I was no longer smoking pot. So I just like, yeah, I used to smoke pot, but it was like kind of but it's like, it's fun conglomerate.
Yeah.
I may get back in the booth one day.
Oh, yeah.
And I always talked about working on an album, and that'd be hilarious if it, like, I finally put on an album at like 50 years old. And I'm just like, took me 30 years to record 12 songs, but here it is.
That should be one of your challenges.
To record a song?
Yeah. Or an album.
Wow. So I do journal every morning, and sometimes I will just randomly rhyme words.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually put pen to paper and tried to think of something poetic in a long, long time. But that's not a bad idea. Yes. Let's do this. So in the 40 days, you'll be making beats.
Yeah.
One of them could become the like intro, outro of this channel. But if we're playing them and one of them catches my ear and I'm like, I gotta write that. Maybe, just maybe, when you come back with it, I'll record something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty cool. We'll see. Okay, so I had another interesting question. I brought up Matt, the guy I used to do this channel with, and
Yeah.
who's going to come in like a producer kind of role. But I asked him, I'm like, is there anything you would want to know about Dearborn's best producer? And he was like, I have a question that I ask people sometimes. It's kind of a complicated question, so bear with me.
Okay.
Have you ever played Madden?
Yes.
Okay. So in Madden or any sort of sports video game, each player has stats.
Mm-hmm.
Think of those stats as being a producer in music,
Okay.
where say it's NBA, say shooting, passing, rebounding, speed, offense, defense, whatever.
Okay.
What would be some of the skills that one would need as a producer with that in mind? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. That
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man. That's a good question.
Well, I mean, so I'm trying to think myself. So having rhythm, I think, would be a skill.
Yeah.
Some people just don't have it.
Yeah. Being able to read music. You don't need to. There's plenty of producers that don't read music. They just go off ear.
Yeah.
And that's good for them. But then there's some producers who read music, interpret it a certain way. So that could be like one stat, I guess. It could be like ear or like sight reading, like actual notes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could just be like how good your ear is,
Mm-hmm.
how good you are at like maybe sampling, hearing something and being like, oh, I could take like a piece of this.
Uh-huh.
Just having that ear for something that you want to change, you want to take out, mess with, you know. So there could be like, that could be like a stat, like how good are you at picking samples? How good are you at, interpreting what you hear and redoing it or,
Yeah. I don't want to interject because I want to keep going with this. Speaking of sampling, your beat where you sampled Adele,
Yes.
Rolling in the Deep, that was dope. I want to link that
thank
here
you.
too. That I listened to that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
So good ear.
Thanks.
Yeah. So the ability to sample, the ability to read music or go off ear.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, I guess ability to play certain instruments. There's some producers that play all kinds of instruments.
Mm-hmm.
There's some that don't really play any. They just go in the computer and do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It could be either one. Being technically savvy, like, knowing what programs to use, what plugins to go to, how to find your sounds, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, technology based.
Yeah.
Tech. Okay. Interesting. I wouldn't even think of that one, but yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
How much would you say persistence? But what part do you say persistence plays?
That too. You got to constantly be working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever like fall into perfectionism where you're working on a beat and you just like tinkering with it and tweaking the hell out of it?
That's another thing. Knowing when to stop. That's really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You could, there's tons of times, man, where I want to release something and I'll walk away for a day, come back, and be like, I'm not going to release this yet. I got to change something.
Yeah.
And then I mess with it for days and days and days. And I'm just like, oh, now I don't even know if I like this anymore. It's like, it's so far from where I started. It's like, sometimes you just have to be like, all right, I got to stop here. Or you have to have somebody else. That's when you have maybe like when you're working on an album, like an executive producer, somebody it's like, this is it. Just leave it. This is it. This is what you want. This is the sound. Just move on to the next thing. Like, yeah.
Two thoughts on that. One is I am a huge fan of the show South Park, and I've listened to pretty much every interview that's available with Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I'm obsessed with those guys. And they were talking about how they release an episode in 6 days. And they basically say that, yeah, we could spend another 2 weeks working on it, but within the 6 days, we get it at like 95% of how good it's going to get. So we could either spend triple the time and make it 5% better, or we could just release it as is. And I fall into that too with creative stuff because, there's so much to it. It's like I could spend triple the time to make it 5% better, or just like, it's good. If I need to tweak something, I'll tweak it on the next one. I'll get better on the next one,
Yeah. 90% of the time, the regular audience is never going to know that you tweak something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're never going to notice. Only you know, like, oh, man, that sounds weird to me. Or, like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, like what you're saying about them, 6 days, giving yourself a deadline is also, like, very important.
Yeah.
Because you could work on something forever. I could go back to the same song a month from now and mess with it, and then it's never going to come out. But if I'm like, all right, by this day I have to have these songs done if I want to release an album by this date, then it's like, all right, now I have some structure. This has to be completed by now. Maybe I don't mess with it as much and I just leave it the way it is and just move on. But yeah, it's very hard. Like, yeah, wanting it to be perfect is like very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a formula when you sit down, make a beat from scratch? Do you start with the drums? Do you start with instruments? How do you kind of go about it at the very beginning?
It depends. It could be either one. My go-to is starting with drums. I've always been drum heavy. Like, that's what I like feel like I'm really good at as far as making beats. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's what I feel like I'm like better at as far as making beats. Because I make beats with other people. I have a group, me and another guy make beats together all the time.
Oh, the melodics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're actually doing like retro stuff, so we're called Synth Aliens now.
Oh, sweet. That's so cool.
But yeah, like I'm like the drum guy. When he and I like collab, he does more like instruments, like playing out like stuff, and I do mostly drums. I mean, we switch it up. We do all kinds of stuff, but that's like I feel like what I'm better at or like what I can contribute more. But yeah, when I'm by myself, start usually with drums just to get like something laid down, just like a rhythm going.
Yeah.
Then I can go in and add, you could start to add more to the drums, different sounds, but I would mainly start with like a kick, snare, get that pattern down, start to add usually some kind of like main instrument, like a synth, a horn or something like that. Then once I have like a melody down, then I would probably go to like the bass line based off of the melody I just made, using like the same notes, kind of working a bass line. And then after that, it's just like tweaking it, adding other instruments where I see fit, different sounds, structuring it a certain way, having it build up, having it like, I guess, build down, like a drop off, cutting the beat out at certain points, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So you do like the verse, maybe build up a bridge, hook. Yeah. I remember, gosh, this was so long ago, over 20 years ago now, since I've sat down and made any beats. But I remember like there being this thing where sometimes I would usually start with drums, but then sometimes you have it like 80% done, but then for some reason, one of the aspects of the beat like would catch my ear and that would become the main focus. And then so slowly I would drop the other things and it would become this like whole different sound when you focus in on one thing. So I just a thought that occurred to me randomly.
Oh, I know what you mean. I've made multiple beats off of one beat. Like, I've made a beat and been like, you know what? I don't necessarily like the other stuff, but this one part, let me take this and start another beat with just that. And I'm like, oh, this might sound better now. Like, yeah.
That's so cool. So this would turn out to be a pretty juicy question with the Madden stuff. So I fucking lost track, but out of the criteria, what would you say you're best at? And what would you say your like biggest area of opportunity would be in terms of producing?
Like I said, drums, sampling. I feel like I'm really good at sampling stuff.
Yeah.
What do I need to improve on? Bass lines. A lot of my beats, like when I first started making beats, I never had a bass line in like my beats. I would have tons of kick and like it'd be pounding, but there was no bass line. It was just like kicks from the drums. Incorporating like good bass lines was probably the hardest thing for me. I don't know why. Like, I love the way bass sounds, but I don't know. For me, it was just making up melodies for an instrument like a horn or a string was much easier to me than trying to get a bass line to fit into a beat.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
yeah, the bass lines were always tough.
Yeah. I feel like that's where like the meat is too. Like that's what needs to be like, catch your attention sometimes.
Right. Yeah, the bass lines were always tough because it's like, do I have it follow the same rhythm as the rest of it, or does it kind of go off on its own thing?
Yeah.
take the listener for a ride separately. So yeah, I totally get that. Have you worked with Jeff Lake at all recently?
It's been a couple years.
Okay.
But yeah, he's been to my studio that I have now. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't seen Lake. I think we might have crossed paths in downtown Plymouth maybe 5-6 years ago, but I haven't seen him since then. I would love to get him on here.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So I don't know if I have his number anymore. We'll check in with that.
I talk to him occasionally about making music. Like once in a while, we'll talk about like, oh, I'll send you a beat or like come over and record. I think he was over maybe like, I want to say like 3 years ago. He recorded some stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I would love to catch up with him. So if I don't have his number, I'll have to get it from you and I'll text him. And then if I don't hear from him, you can add the extra pressure and be like, I'm going to come over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come over and record, but first go do Chris's podcast. Yeah. Cause he was always pretty fit guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Not that that's a prerequisite for coming on this podcast, but we like to talk health. We like to talk wellness. We like to talk about silly stuff. And I like to highlight my guest as a person. What I have found is I love having the creative types on the podcast. I have a much higher percentage of people saying yes when I've reached out to people actively involved in a creative endeavor versus people that might not be, so there's just something, there's like a kinship, between creatives, like, let's work together in the best way possible. I like to shine a spotlight on you, and, you're doing me a solid by coming on. So
for sure.
That's pretty cool. Your current gig, you dig graves.
Yeah, it's my part-time job. Yeah.
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 How did you get into that, and what is that like?
Oh man, so I started working at a cemetery when I was like 19 or something, just as like a random like part-time job doing like landscaping stuff there. And the guy that ran the cemetery at the time would always ask me like, "Hey, would you dig graves?" Because I would just do like trim shrubs, cut grass, maintain like the landscape of the cemetery. I was never into digging graves or anything. And I was like, I always told him, no way. Like, no, I'm not doing that. And this cemetery specifically is smaller and you can't get equipment in there really. And there's like a hill and stuff. It's very compact.
Okay.
A lot of it is sand.
Like
once you start digging, so they never really take a backhoe in there and dig. So you dig by hand, you dig with a shovel. So he would always ask me like, "Hey, would you ever do it?" I'm like, "No." And then eventually they told me how much it pays and stuff. And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll do it."
Sweet.
So, cause I was always kind of like, I was younger. I was like kind of creeped out by it. I was like, I don't really want to do something like that. That's like weird to me. But now it's like, I don't even think about it. It's just a job. Like it's nothing. But I started doing it, and it's weird to other people. To me, it's just digging a hole at this point. Yeah. But it's definitely interesting. Like,
I think it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have any like wild story, like spooky or not? Do you have any crazy stories?
I mean, there's been times where I've been digging there, and I don't dig by myself. There's always another person. There's always two people digging a grave.
Okay.
So it usually takes us, we got it like down pat. I've been doing it for like over 10 years. It takes like 2-3 hours maybe to dig it. But there's times where we've had to go and it takes longer because of tree roots and stuff. So we're there at like night. It's like getting dark out.
Dope.
And it definitely gets kind of creepy because there's like no lights in there. So you're just like digging in the dark, and it's like in a neighborhood too. It's not like out somewhere. There's like a neighborhood surrounding the cemetery. So there's like houses nearby. And I'm always like, these people are going to call the cops on us. They're like seeing us dig in the dark, digging in a grave. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
One time we were digging, and it was like getting late. I'm pretty sure it was like summer. It was probably getting like dusk, like 9 o'clock. We were like finishing up, and a family came through riding their bikes, which was really weird. Like usually people aren't like riding their bikes through a cemetery. And they came over and asked us all kinds of questions. Like, I'm like, it's dark out and you're not afraid to come like talk to us, asking us if we find bones and just all kinds of stuff. I'm like, this is so weird.
Describe this family. We talking
like a mom, dad, and kids, like going on a bike ride, probably in the summer, like at night, and just maybe they saw us in there and she's like, oh, let's go in there. But usually people see us in there, they're like, I'm not going in there.
Right.
Like, what are these guys doing?
I'm picturing the Addams family. Like,
yeah. But so it's a really old cemetery. There's definitely unmarked graves, we do our best to find a spot that's in the records. It doesn't say it's occupied, but I believe it was like a farm back in the day, and that's how it started to become a cemetery. Like the guy who had the farm would bury like the townspeople on his farm property, and then eventually it became a cemetery. So there's stuff there from like hundreds of years ago with no record, no tombstone, nothing. So we'll be digging, and like we'll get to the bottom of where we're supposed to be and take out a shovel, and there's like wood. I'm like, what's going on here? Another shovel. There's like a piece of glass, and we're like 4 feet down at this point. And I'm like, what is this? And it's like top of an old coffin, like completely disintegrated, kind of creepy. You will find like pieces of bone.
Yeah.
Like, and we usually just dig a little deeper, put it, leave it where it is, obviously. Dig a little deeper, cover it up,
Yeah.
not to disturb it. But yeah, definitely find all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow. You ever find any goodies like a gold tooth or like a watch?
We always joke about like, when are we finding like the treasure?
Yeah.
Like we've dug out all these spots all over the place, found all this weird crap, bricks, pieces of fence. Like people obviously dumped stuff there at some point, just random garbage just buried like 4 feet underground. I'm like, where did this come from?
That's weird.
Never found anything worth anything.
Yeah.
No gold, no jewelry, nothing.
Yeah. What I picture tying in the music and the cemetery, I'm picturing the music video for Cleaning Out My Closet, where he's just digging in the rain, just digging a grave the whole time. And just like, you could totally tie that in and be like, I bury rappers.
Right. Bury rappers, yeah.
Put them underground. That's cool. So yeah, that's awesome. I would say my wildest work story would be when I like left a job after 3 days. So totally different facet, but I've worked kind of corporate office jobs for the past 10 years. And I got laid off from one job and I ended up getting a job at this automotive marketing company. And I didn't know what was occurring while it was going on. I just knew I was freaking out. In hindsight, I had like a full-blown panic attack.
Oh,
and I that's the only one I've ever had. So what happened was I would go in and they would be training us because it was like my third day on the job. Well, for whatever reason, I felt like I was already behind the eight ball. Like I came in with another guy and I felt like I wasn't getting it as quickly as he was. Like I just like started to panic. So like in order to kind of like, I don't know, make up for like I just consumed a tremendous amount of like caffeine. Like I remember like 5 Hour Energy, extra strength, whatever. Because I thought it would help me like get in the zone and like absorb some of this information. Well, like I said, it was a third day on the job, and we had just come out of this meeting there was like a sales guy who was like one of those like hot shot salesmen, like sell me this pen kind of, Wolf of Wall Street kind of guy. And he's like on the phone. He's just like, so tell me, Ron, when you're out there in your Mustang and you got the wind in your hair, he's super. I'm like, they're going to want me to do that? Like, I can't do this.
Right.
So I started freaking out. And so like I go back to my desk and I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of here. I can't. Then like, and the thing was, I didn't know what was happening, so I didn't have the wherewithal to like go and explain to my boss like what I was going through. Because truth be told, I didn't know what I was going through.
Right.
I've never experienced anything like this. I was just like, I can't do this. I need to get out of here. So I just like walked away. Like I walked away. I get to the elevators, and I was just like, oh shit, I forgot my keys. So I had to like go like creep back, like tiptoe back, and like I had to like go past my boss who like, I don't know, she probably wouldn't have questioned it if I went and just grabbed my keys. She wouldn't be like, where are you going? But in my head, I'm like, oh my God. I was like freaking out. I'm like, I gotta go grab my keys. I gotta pass my boss, grab my keys, and just leave this job. So that's how I went, and I you know how when you like grab keys off a thing, they like jingle?
Yeah.
I had to like just fully palm them. And try not to have them. So I walk. I was in the Ren-Sen, and I leave, and I was like freaking out. I like called my sponsor in recovery, whatever, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do. I freaked out, freaking out. I left this job and I can't go back. He's like, no, you got to go back and talk to him. I'm like, I'm not talking to them. I can't talk to them. And so,
all jacked up on 5 Hour Energy.
Yeah, all jacked up and just terrified. I don't even like. It was a great job, and like I felt extra bad. My cousin like referred me for the job. So I was just panicking so much. And so he's like, well, you got to tell them something. And so like, I got home, I like caught my breath, and I just like still in this panic attack, didn't know what was happening. I had convinced myself that I wasn't going to be able to do this job. I wasn't qualified. So I emailed them. I'm like, hey, thank you for the opportunity. It's not working out. So then they like called me immediately, and I'm like, fuck, I got to talk to him. So I basically just told them that I didn't feel like it was a good fit. Like I was very vague. I wasn't like, I'm freaking out, you know?
Right.
So like, yeah. And so I guess that would be my craziest story in the corporate world, just like bailing after 3 days. And just, I'm freaking out. Man, I hadn't thought about that in a while. But
something else that happened at the cemetery, another cemetery story.
Hell yeah.
This one doesn't really involve me doing anything, but a car crashed through there, which was nuts. It happened 2 years ago. Some guy stole a car in like Westland, and they started chasing him. Ended up in Dearborn, and like I was saying, where the cemetery is kind of like a neighborhood. It's actually off of Cherry Hill. And this part of Cherry Hill like has a little bit of a curve. Like there's houses on both sides, and there's like a cemetery, and there's like a little bit of a curve. So this guy steals a car. Cops are chasing him. He ends up in Dearborn. He's flying down Cherry Hill. Probably doesn't know that there's like a curve in the road, and there's also like the houses stop there, and there's a cemetery, and it's like dark, so you can't really tell probably at night, probably however fast he's going too. He ends up not really turning, not going with the curve in the road, and going straight right through the fence, right through a fire hydrant, a fence, and then knocked over like multiple tombstones, flipped the car. And like I show up the next day, there's like cops there, like the news is there, and the car's flipped over inside the cemetery, and this guy like took off running too, like afterward. They eventually got him, but I'm like, man, can you imagine like you're running from the cops and all of a sudden you end up crashed into a cemetery? Like how terrible.
It's bad karma.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you were there to like,
no, I wasn't there. No, it happened like in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Was work canceled for that day?
I mean, I had to like clean up some of it.
Yeah. Take care of the tombstones.
Yeah.
What do? You just replace the tombstones
like
with
the insurance company.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, this guy like wrecked stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So they insure the cemetery as a whole, or like individual tombstones? Do you know?
I believe it's just the cemetery as a whole. Like they had to replace the fence and like the fire hydrant, all the other stuff too. Yeah.
Interesting. So who owns the cemetery?
It's a school, a church.
Oh.
They own that cemetery. Yeah.
So I guess I never thought about that. Is there like big cemetery, like some corporate greedy bastard?
I don't know. There could be. I know there's like independent cemeteries, but this one's connected to like a church and a school.
Okay.
So they like run it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There could be like a conglomerate big cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah, just like one of the greedy billionaires at one time. No, he won't. Only my family gets buried at this cemetery. That's so funny. Any other crazy stories?
Just finding random bones, really. I mean, it's happened several times.
Yeah.
I'm sure most people don't know this, but in the wintertime, ground is frozen. We're not using like a backhoe. We have to have these big blankets, big heated blankets, which are really cool.
Oh.
They're like 8 feet long. These things work awesome. You plug them in, put them on the ground, and it will I mean, the ground is like a rock right now. Like you're not digging through that with a shovel.
Mm-hmm.
You put this on there for a day or two, take it off, and the ground is steaming. It's like completely dry and not frozen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems like such a cool, just old school fix.
Yeah.
Like with all this technology and stuff. It's
Yeah.
just like, no, with this, we're putting a heated blanket and
Yep.
busting out the shovels.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Any recommendations just in life or anything in your life that you enjoy? Media, could be TV, music, whatever.
I've been getting into vaporwave. Do you know what that is?
I don't know what's
It's a genre of music.
Oh, okay.
I actually want to come out with stuff under a different name for
Oh
that
my
too. But
you're gonna be your own D12.
Yeah. I'm every group member. It's like do you remember like the Weather Channel when we were kids? Like the music they would play on the Weather Channel?
Oh yeah,
Like
I feel
jazzy type of like 90s, like laid back type of music that you would hear like on hold or like in the background at the mall, that type of music.
Yeah, I feel like I can picture it.
It's basically like easy listening type of jazzy type of music that's like, it's supposed to be nostalgic. It's like people making it today, but it's supposed to sound like it's from like the 90s essentially.
I've never heard it.
Yeah.
So vaporwave.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people like will sample old songs and kind of like slow them down and make it sound like it's supposed to sound like nostalgic and like a memory. So it sounds like echoey and like that type of vibe. Yeah.
So I've scrolled past some shorts in YouTube where in the background they had what I think might be vaporwave of Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. And it's just like that. It's slowed down. Yeah. It's kind of dreamy.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. So that is its own genre of music. Okay. Yeah. I was not aware of that. Yeah. Okay. So vaporwave, and you are going to release an album under a different name.
Yep. Teal Nostalgia is my name on there.
What is it?
Teal Nostalgia.
Teal Nostalgia. Yeah. Okay, so you already have that.
The teal is from like the 90s. Teal was like a huge color.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it's one of my favorite colors. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna try this name and this type of music. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, here's a challenge that I just thought of.
Okay.
With the name that you haven't picked out yet, that was the dubstep, right?
Yes.
You don't have. So on this wall back here, I have a bunch of DVDs of movies. A lot from the 90s, a lot from the 2000s, and I'm going to try to pluck out the name of a movie that I think would be sweet as a dubstep.
Oh, man.
I'm going with Top Gun. Top Gun.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's not bad. And then your first album could be called Maverick.
Oh, there you go.
Top Gun Maverick. Kill Bill's kind of cool.
Yeah. Out Cold. That'd be cool.
Out Cold's pretty good. I don't hate that. The best of Chris Farley's Saturday Night Live edition.
Volume 2.
Screwed. That's a good.
Oh, yeah.
Another recommendation that I have, Old Navy. Just Old Navy. I was looking for some quarter zips, and I'm literally wearing an Old Navy quarter zip right now. If you're just listening on Spotify, you can't see. It fits great, and it was like $12.
Nice.
And I'm at that age. I've been at that age, I feel like, for a while. I don't really care about brand name or whatever. So if you're into brand name, then forget about this. Fast forward through this part. But if you don't really care and you just need some like quality stuff, don't sleep on Old Navy. Like,
yeah.
My two most reliable pairs of pants, these black jeans and another pair of blue jeans, both Old Navy.
Yeah.
And I got two quarter zips that look great. They, feel great for $22.
Yeah, nice.
So if you're looking to like look good at a bargain, shout out Old Navy.
Nice. Yeah. I got a couple Old Navy hoodies. Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't sleep on Old Navy.
Yeah. I would say Target too, man.
Yeah.
They got some good, cheap, nice looking clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we get to the age and we're just like, I don't care what the brand name is.
Yeah.
So
just want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. One other thing I texted you about, embarrassing stories.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you would be so kind? Because we like to, we like to get a little vulnerable here on the channel. Anything from the past that was like super embarrassing that you care to share with us?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear
I thought of something immediately when you sent me this. I was like, oh man.
Before we start, here's a random thing. Apparently this is a guy thing. Do you remember the fastest kid in your class in 3rd grade?
I remember there being like one kid that was not necessarily in 3rd grade, but just in grade school in general.
Okay.
Like I remember there being like a certain kid that was faster than everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. What was his name?
Brian.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to reveal because I'm going to have my buddy Dan Gill on this podcast in a little bit. And we were in 3rd grade together, and I want to know, because apparently this is a thing, like women couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But guys, like for whatever reason, like the fastest kid in class to us in like elementary school was like a big deal.
Yeah.
It was such a big deal. So much so that most guys remember who the fastest kid in class was. I just thought that was hilarious.
That is funny.
I don't know what made me think of that. Maybe the embarrassing story because it was not me. But go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Embarrassing story.
So yeah, I think I was in 7th grade. I got braces, which is already like, man, that's already like, so bad at that
Yeah.
point in your life. You're like, I don't want anyone looking at me anyway. This is embarrassing. Like, so that was already like, oh. So I'm in gym class one day. We're playing dodgeball. Everybody's running around all over the place. Me and this other kid didn't see each other, just bam, ran into each other. We're both running different directions, run into each other. His head hits my mouth. My lip puncture, my braces. Did you ever have braces?
I never did.
No. Okay.
I never did.
Some braces have like, I don't know if they all do or if certain ones, they have like little posts
Okay.
inside. And I'm pretty sure that's where they tighten them.
Okay.
So there's like little posts sticking out, not sticking out, but they're like in there.
Like protruding.
Yes,
kind of.
protruding a little bit. So basically when he ran into me, it smashed my lip into that. So my lip was like stuck stuck in my braces.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh my God. So he and I, he was so nice about it. He and I, yeah, I was. He and I go into the locker room, and he's like, let me see if I can like help you. And he like tries pulling on it. I'm like, no way. That is not working. So I have to go to the gym teacher and be like, this is happening. Like, I need to go home or something. Like, so it's already embarrassing. I got my lips stuck in my braces. I go to the office. I call my mom. It's a whole thing. Eventually my mom comes and gets me. I have to go to the orthodontist because they cannot like physically pull my lip off of my braces. It's like stuck.
Jammed in there.
So I go, they sit me down. They're doing all this stuff. This was also so embarrassing. The one doctor calls in the other doctors to come look at it. They're like, oh, we've never seen something like this. I'm like, great. So I'm sitting here, like, my lips all messed up. And they're like, oh, everyone come look.
Yeah.
Like, how are we going to, like, fix this?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that was not fun.
Oh, man. You know what it reminded me of? Have you ever seen There's Something About Mary?
Oh, my
When he gets
yes.
I mean, at least it wasn't that part of your body.
Yeah, for real.
They got stuck. Well, yeah, they're calling in everybody.
Yeah.
And like,
oh, come look.
yeah, come look at this. I've never seen anything like it before. So don't leave us on the edge of our seats. Do you remember how you ended up? Did you just have to yank it out?
I don't know what they did.
Okay.
I couldn't really see. They're in my mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know. They eventually, I don't know if they had to take apart a piece of my braces or what.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
Yeah. Man, yeah, that sucks. At least it wasn't on like a big, well, gym. It was gym class, so I'm sure there were other kids that knew, but like a big stage.
Right.
Where like that's what because I had, there was a few incidences where it was like in front of a group of people. One of them was actually rap related. We had this project in high school. It was for a humanities class, and we had to take a script from Shakespeare and revamp it to modern day. And when we did that, we were like, oh, we could actually have a rapper in our script. And then we had to put on a little play for like the rest of the school. And I was adamant that I play that rapper because it was my Slim Shady days.
Right.
I was going to play that rapper, whatever. My class wanted me to play a different character, which I wish I would have opted for because it was like a funny character. Like I could have done a lot with it, but rapping was more important to me in high school than being funny.
Right.
Sadly. But so I had to memorize this like little part. I actually went home. There are 2 parts that I had to rap. And I actually went home, Acid Pro, made a beat.
Oh, nice.
Actually recorded my voice. So I made these little like 25-second raps.
Oh, nice.
And I was supposed to, we played them and I was supposed to memorize them and like do it in front of the thing. Well, so my only saving grace here was that I already recorded a vocal track over it. But what I was going to do is that was going to be like my background and I was actually going to rap it. Well, when it came time to rap my part in front of the school, I bombed.
Oh, man.
It was like 8 Mile.
Man.
I couldn't remember a single word. I just stood eyes wide like,
oh, man.
And it was really, really bad. But like I said, thankfully I had recorded the vocals already.
Yeah.
So for anyone that wasn't in like the front row, it kind of just looked like maybe I was rapping or maybe I wasn't supposed to actually be rapping. I'm not sure if people knew that I was supposed to be rapping. And like, I just totally botched it. Yeah. And that was so embarrassing.
Yeah. Man, that's one of my things too. Being in front of a group of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only performed a few times, like actually rapping and like on stage.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it, dude. Oh man. I want people to like listen to my music. I want it out there, but I do not want like everyone staring at me while I'm on stage or anything like that. It's like terrifying.
Yeah. See, I am good with being on stage. I being an actor for a while.
Yeah.
My like main source of income while I was acting was doing regular shows at Genetti's Northville Genetti's in downtown Northville, which I'm having some cast members come on this channel,
nice.
which is going to be cool. But yeah, that whole being on stage, like I always liked it. I wasn't great at it at first, but man, when you can get into this space of like having them respond and react, and there is no better feeling. Like it would be it's different performing music, but making an audience of people laugh, it's like that's my favorite feeling in the world.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. Haven't done it in a while, but it did transfer into some really good life skills. Like anytime I have to speak in front of people, it's like second nature now.
Yeah,
cool.
It doesn't bother you.
Right.
Yeah.
Though it does, you do after not doing it for a while. Like I haven't actually performed in 5 years. You do get a little rusty.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of something that it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So, but having you on today, was there anything else that, is there anything that you were like hoping to talk about that we haven't gotten to yet?
I did think of an embarrassing story that involves you.
Oh shit.
I don't know if you want to tell.
Oh dude, go for it. What was it? What did I do? See if I remember it.
Just when you told me about embarrassing stories, I thought about like us and like stuff we used to do, like, you know, rapping, getting drunk in the booth, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But I thought of a story when you guys came to see me and, came to see Obie Trice in Canada.
Oh yeah.
So this is a part of the story I didn't tell. I used to produce for a group in Canada called Academy. They're awesome group of guys.
Yeah.
And they were pretty big in Windsor. Like they were like the guys in Windsor. They performed at all the bars every weekend. Like, they had connections. They knew like guys. That's actually how I got Bizarre on my album. One of the guys knew Bizarre. Nice. So they opened for Obie Trice one time, and you and a bunch of people came over, and something happened to you guys.
Yes, I haven't thought about this in a while. Yes, I'd be happy to share the story. So it was me. I don't need to keep these people anonymous. It's been long enough. Allegedly. That's all you got to do in this podcast. That's all you got to do in this podcast. If you share something that could incriminate you, you just say this allegedly happened or make up names, whatever. But we were going to this show in Windsor, Canada. We're from Metro Detroit, Michigan, so we're crossing the border. It was myself, my buddy Jeff, his now wife, Erin, JD, and we had partaken in some activities before crossing the border that involved getting high. It was marijuana. It's legal now, so it's marijuana. We had smoked across the border. So we ditched what we thought was everything out of the car before we crossed. But, 5 up to no good looking people crossing the border, they were suspicious. So they made us pull off into customs and they searched the vehicle. So what they found in the vehicle was not anything necessarily incriminating.
Yeah.
But it was the tobacco from the inside of blunts. It was many lighters.
Yeah.
It was all sorts of paraphernalia that you can't necessarily be like, that is 100% chance used for weed. All stuff that were like around there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for is like, all stuff involved in it.
Yeah.
But not the actual product. So it didn't stop there. They made us go into the building and they proceeded with the body cavity searches.
So terrible.
We all got to get naked in front of the Canadians' finest.
Oh, man.
And I really felt bad for the female of the group because she didn't deserve that. She was just going to have fun. She was just hanging around. Like, whatever. The rest of us guys, it's just like, whatever, here's my balls and butt. But it's like, maybe a little more vulnerable for her. So I feel bad for this day. But yes, we got totally strip searched. And I know, I remember JD, he kind of cocky, hot shot kind of guy. So he comes out crip walking, and our nickname for him was D Whizzle. Because he and I had a Spanish class together. His name was Don Juan in Spanish class, so I nicknamed him D Whizzle. So that name stuck. So he comes out crip walking, and he goes, D Whizzle, clean as a whistle. Because they did the calorie searches, but we weren't hiding anything.
Yeah.
So all of that, they let us go.
Yeah.
And we then got into the car, hung our heads. We were like, do we just go home or should we go to this Obi Trice concert at this point? And we were like, let's go see Obi.
Yeah.
So we went and saw Obi Trice, and I think he was performing songs from his upcoming second album, if I had the timing correct there. But yeah, that was quite embarrassing. It was a combination of like embarrassment for myself, but also feeling bad for the people.
Yeah.
I kind of put that through because I was driving, and when you're driving, you feel like a sense of responsibility to keep everybody safe and not naked in front of Canadian police. So, man, I hadn't thought about that in years.
Yeah.
Embarrassing stories. I got plenty. So every episode I plan on doing one because I feel like it helps. I feel like it helps take the guard down. You know? I feel like, I like talking real stuff on here. Like we joke, we do that stuff, but embarrassing stuff kind of pulls out something like from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but was there anything else that you were hoping to talk about that I
don't think so.
No?
Yeah, I think that's
all right,
pretty much it.
Well, fist bump, and we'll have you back in about 40 days. Good luck with the run.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, we're linking his stuff. So if you're into music, check out his stuff.
Yep.
Russ Lovelace, Top Notch, and then what's your third moniker?
Teal Nostalgia.
Teal Nostalgia.
Yeah.
And Top Gun Maverick, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
So, all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.